Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadge.com, out here for another gear review, and today, talking jackets, this guy right here, which is the Paladin Hoodie by Prometheus Design Works. Broad strokes, what is it? It is a technical jacket made for adventures with definitely an emphasis on durability. So I will go over some of the features built into it. The outside of the jacket, the face, is made with their expedition cloth. It is treated also four-way stretch, really durable, abrasion resistant, and then inside it is lined with their guide cloth. Also, definitely that stretch to it, and it's also really soft to the touch, which is nice, especially if you're wearing like a short sleeve shirt, having your arms in there. And inside the, I guess, right breast, there's a pocket here. You can stash things, especially something you want to maybe keep warmer up closer against your body. And you have two hand pockets. Inside there is a mesh, and also inside there's like a little keeper pocket where you can put things. So by way of example, I could take my Fisher Space Pin, drop it in there, and when I reach into my pocket, I know where it is. It's not just disappeared somewhere in that pocket. And also inside the pockets are these right here. Personally, not a big fan of them. I understand it, I get it. Basically, it's so you can lash things, whether it's your car keys or maybe a compass, something like that, that you want to have access to, but you don't want to end up losing. Usually what happens for me is I don't use them like that, and then my pockets are unzipped and then they're just hanging out, so that happens. Also around the back is two sides, like behind. Basically, both these unzip and you can store things back there if you so choose. And also, which I'll show you when I put this on, the hem actually goes lower in the back, which is nice, keeping wind, elements, stuff like that out. The hood has built-in bill. It also is big to accommodate a helmet. More on that in a minute. And then of course you have cord locks, so you can pull this piece around the top of the hood, and then this piece here, which pulls kind of back around the hood to fit it to, well, your head or helmet. And then both sleeves, you have a Velcro field. You also have a pocket that unzips, and back here, it's gusseted, so you actually have a fair amount of room if you want to put stuff back there. And someone will probably ask, that right there is a tiger stripe tiger from my friend Pageosity. And then over here, pretty sweet reflective one from Prometheus Design Works. Other things I do like is the way the cuffs are, which I'll show you again when I put this on. Basically longer over the top of your hand where you'd want it, and you can obviously adjust them, keep them nice and tight, keep elements from coming in. But I'll put this thing on and yeah, show you what I meant with some of those features. Myself being just under 6 foot and about 180 pounds, this is a large. I feel like I'm right on the cusp of like large and medium for some of their sizing stuff. I will say the sleeves work. I would probably like them just a tiny bit longer, so if I push my arms all the way out, they stay out there more. But this is it, again, large on my frame. As I mentioned, this back here is cut lower, and there's also draw cords on either side, so you can basically cinch that skirt up, keep snow, wind, things like that from coming in. And the hood. Yes, I know I have another hood on because I'm wearing the Fozzy hoodie by Tactical Distributors. More on that in a second. But ultimately, this is the hood. Things I don't really care for. Honestly, while I understand the idea and the concept of having a hood that is cut for a helmet, genuinely curious, like how many people actually put jackets on, to include this jacket, and actually put that hood on over a helmet. more often than not, if I would do something like that, it would probably just be a hard shell, because I'm trying to keep wind or rain, and whatever other like warming layer or something like that, like don't really have an expectation of putting a hood on over my helmet. Granted, there's the other side of this where you have companies like Sitka, which have really form-fitting hoods, which are great, honestly, for keeping warmth in, but they're not something you would put on because maybe it's kind of cold, but you also just don't want to look like a weirdo, because it's not at all like a fashionable hood or anything like that. Like, it just seals around your face, literally, just hugs your head, which if you're trying to just keep warm, awesome. If you're wearing this jacket around town and you're like, oh, wind's blowing, let me throw a hood on, it's not something you necessarily want to put on unless it was really cold. And conversely, like, you probably wouldn't want to put this hood on either. Like, there's so much material made to go around a helmet, which you may or may not use. Which brings us to use case, how I've actually used this. Well, per their website, it says it's made for cool to cold weather. In my experience, it's not warm. I'll start there. So I guess it really depends on your internal temp and how hot or cold you run. Granted, a lot of things I do are relatively static, to include filming, and again, not warm. I think today it's mid 30s, maybe 40 degrees or something like that. I would definitely not just wear this over a t-shirt. And more often than not, I will actually wear it over something like this, which is the Fozzy fleece by Tactical Distributors. And it's just that, it's just like super fuzzy, nice and warm. I will say, if the wind blows, you will be cold wearing this. But honestly, more often than not, I will couple this with this, and it'll make for a pretty warm setup. Being able to go out, spend time out in the snow, like below 0 temps, things like that. Or even now, when coming out here, the wind was blowing, I was very cold just wearing this, threw this on, and yeah, kept me warm. But it's not necessarily a shell, and it's also not necessarily an insulation layer. So kind of where does it come in? I've worn this a lot, honestly, just around town, as well as out to the range to go shoot, things like that. And it does a good job. Again, being able to scale it with something else to keep you warm in those colder temperatures. And also does a good job like shedding snow or even rain for relatively short periods of time. Again, not waterproof, not a shell. Places I haven't used it and honestly just won't use it. Largely in the backcountry, like backpacking and things like that. And the reason being is, for me personally, like the ROI with respect to a layer. So this is not warm, like it's not a warm layer. So you're gonna need some sort of insulation piece. So then for me, it usually fits into more of like a shell, but it's also heavier than most shells, and it's also not waterproof. So I would much rather bring like a puff, like insulation piece, and then some sort of hard shell, like their Aegis, so that I can scale appropriately, and that both weight as well as like bulk is, yeah, probably a better fit, especially when weight matters out in the backcountry. I will say this does something a lot of pieces don't do though. I will say this jacket is rugged and really well made. Like, you feel it when you pick it up, to include just the materials used. And it's actually made here in the US, like sewn up over in California. And something that Prometheus Design Works has worked on is starting to make things, not that they haven't before, but actively creating garments and stuff that are made for longevity, like things you're going to use for a solid like 5+ seasons. And I think this definitely fits the bill. And again, it comes down to like, what are you looking for? If you're looking for an insulation piece, like this probably isn't it. And if you're looking for a hard shell, this isn't it. But just like a solid jacket that you honestly maybe do or don't like the cut of and some of the features, like it is, like it's a solid jacket. And I do actually like a lot of the features, to include this, or even a lot of people are like, oh, Velcro fields, how am I going to be the gray man with that? Yeah, you're probably not going to be, but If you also have some cool patches and you want to throw them on there, like cool, now you have a Velcro field. I actually like jackets like cut and designed like this, and it does a good job. Again, just knowing limitations and where you will use it and if and how you need to scale it to stay comfortable. Again, depending on activity level. But if you're interested, there'll be a link down below. Price-wise, I think around 300 bucks. Is it expensive? Not really for materials made here in the US, honestly. But if you're interested, you can check it out. And yeah, as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
This is California Babylon, my man. Don't say that you don't understand. Don't say that you can't comprehend. Don't say that